Hey there, hi there, ho there. We are talking about the qualities of a script reader today. I'm going to dive into that. I love these sessions we do every first Monday. So every first Monday of the month, we do a session where we talk about the reading process. We help you with different things that have to do with being a reader. And today is one of those days. We're going to dive into the qualities of a script reader. I'm Carolyn J. Carpenter. I'm one of the founders of Hollywood Gatekeepers, and I'm having a blast, like training people, creating new readers. I see people rolling on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Super happy to have you here. So I'm just going to dive right in. We like to keep these fairly short so you can just kind of listen in, get a few tips, and move on with your day and get started with your month. So I'm super excited to be here. I say it a lot, but it's always true. I love doing this. It's really, really fun. So let's talk about what are the qualities of a reader. And I don't know that we've ever really talked about this like so succinctly, but it was fun kind of thinking of what are the qualities of all the readers that I know. And I know a lot of readers. I know readers I've worked with, many readers that I've worked with. And then now we're training people. And so what are the qualities that I'm seeing of our graduates that they all seem to have in common? And so it's pretty straight ahead, actually. Kind of the first one, which is really obvious, but it's seemingly obvious, but it's to a degree that one might not be quite so obvious. And that is that you love movies. And I don't mean you love movies. Yeah, we love movies. I mean, you like you really love movies. Like you're the guy that's like, oh, I saw that movie. And did you see the one that the director did that it was this one? Or did you see that actor was in that one? Did you notice it was the same set from this movie? Like you're that, or did you know it was a remake from this thing and it was influenced by that? And like, you're just like a movie geek. And most readers are that. Not all readers, but most of them are. And we have so many fun conversations inside of our programs. We do a movie night where we get together and we critique a movie together. And that's always like recently we did Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is a fairly old movie, but it was really fun. We just kind of saw it in a new light as we all talked about our experience of how we experienced that movie when it first came out, if we did, or if you're younger than that, there were people in our programs that are younger than that, what does that movie mean and that kind of things, and how does it relate to other movies, and just really fun. And then also we're talking about the story structure. That's what our main focus is. But all of the time, it's always really interesting to feel that love for movies and feel that really reverent love for movies. And so it's just it's a super cool thing that we all have in common. And I find that that's really, really true with all of the people in our programs, as well as all of the people that I've worked with. I mean, I can't even tell you the conversations that have happened, in studios where people are doing that, because that's part of your job. Also, you need to know those things. And so having a love for movies is really, really important as a reader. And then kind of the next thing, which is the really obvious one, is that you like to read. I mean, it is in the title, your job, not just your job description. You're a reader. That's your thing. We actually had someone that joined our programs a while ago, and she was like, I don't think this is for me. I didn't realize it was going to have so much reading. I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hide it. I didn't mean to hide that you'll be reading scripts as your job as a reader. So it's just really interesting, how people, sorry, I need to plug in my laptop. So as we talk, I'm multitasking and plugging in my laptop. But that love for reading is also really, really, really important. And so really love, if you're that person that loves to just crack open a good novel, or, just scroll through your favorite screenplay, whether it's produced, unproduced, if you love to read, it's really fun reading screenplays, I think, because you get this, like, it's like you're right there. It's really fun, especially when they're really, screenplays that blow your mind. Even when they're not, though, I think the whole process of reading a screenplay, that doesn't matter to me, actually, if it's like, yeah, definitely some reading going on. There's definitely a bit of reading. Yeah, a voracious reader. And we get that a lot. Like, a lot of our students are like, I'm a voracious reader. And most of us have been that way our whole lives. We were voracious readers as children. And it's actually something that I've gone to schools, to elementary schools, to tell children that this is a thing. Because I don't think kids, no one realizes that this is a thing. So not many people, I should say, not no one, but not many people realize that being a reader, and children don't go, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a reader. But now they might. If I tell them that it's an actual way that you can use that love of reading, it's just a great, it's a great skill to have. And if you're naturally, a voracious reader and you love to read, then it's the perfect job for you, for sure. And so, hold on. This is so professional. I'm going to plug in my laptop. It would be less professional for me to suddenly disappear. So I'm going to take a second to plug it in. I just got a new laptop. And I've read that you should let the battery run down before you plug it in. So it got me off unawares that time. Sorry. So yeah, being a voracious reader is really, really important. And then kind of the next step of the reader job, and that is being a writer. And this is an interesting one because most, well, not most, but a lot of people will say, oh, you're not a writer if you're a reader, which is like, actually someone posted, well, readers aren't writers. And I was like, what? Oh, I've been doing that for decades. I write and I read. And it doesn't mean being a reader doesn't necessarily mean that you have to write screenplays. That doesn't necessarily have to be true. But you are a writer, absolutely. So one of the first things we want you to do if you decide to be a reader is own that you are a writer. You're a reader and you're a writer because it's a very special skill. You write coverage. Coverage is kind of like a book report. If you're new to us, I love people like shaking. I love shaking. Waving is what I meant to say. So you have to take that screenplay and you write coverage. And if you're new to us, a coverage is kind of like a book report. So you're writing a book report. You're writing like a summary of what is that film about for just like a page and a half. You have to take that 90 to 120 page screenplay and condense it down to, a page and a half of what was it about. You have to get the key elements. You have to be able to tell a story. You have to be able to write that out in a way that's engaging, that the writer will understand that you've got their story if you're doing it for a writer, or that a producer will really feel like they've read the screenplay by reading your page and a half. So it's a real writing skill, right? And then you need to write, what did you think about the movie? Like what works in the movie and what needs work in the movie. And especially in our programs, the way that we kind of talk about it, I think there's a very specific style to writing those that works the best. In my never to be humble opinion, but in just by reading 11,000 screenplays and writing as many coverages, it's like the thing that I have found that gets it across the best for writers, and that also, keeps you working, and producers recommend you to other people. And there's some qualities to that I think are really important. And that kind of leads to the next thing of what is a good quality for a reader. And that is the job of service. When you write your coverage from the perspective of being in a job of service, it changes everything. You're not in a job. I know it's called Hollywood gatekeepers. I know it's like, get smart. But it's not that. It's like we are trying to kick that gate open. That's what the reader's job is. Producers want good screenplays. They want good projects. They're passionate about making good movies, and so are we. And so we want that to happen. So we are looking for those good screenplays. So when you act as if this job is a job of service, it does become that. And so a job that is a job of service means that you are writing this coverage in a way that is going to both inspire that writer if they read the coverage, which always write your coverage from a perspective that a writer is going to see it, the writer of that screenplay, especially now with the interwebs and all that. They often get passed around. They often get back to the writer a lot of the time. So always just write from that perspective. And you just want to come from that perspective anyway. So it's not about how someone's going to judge you. It's about you are coming from a place of service. So you're writing this coverage in a way that is, how can we make this project work? You're coming from the positive side of, even if there's problems with it, what can I do to help it fix it? What can I do to help inspire that writer? So that when that writer reads the coverage, they walk away going, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to get back to the page. I'm going to fix this. This is going to be so, they're really inspired. They get me. That's the one thing that I heard all the time and still hear all the time when I do coverages. You seem to really get me. And that's because from approaching it with this and the next thing I'm going to talk about is approaching it in this way where you're acting as a job of service. You understand, but you're coming from a place of understanding and compassion and help and service, and you want to make it better. And people feel understood when you do that. People feel more inspired when you do that. People are ready to make changes when you do that. When you come from a place of compassion and service, you're there to help. You're not there to critique. You're not standing there judging. You're not going, tell me what's so great. Like, that's just, we don't even, in the way that that's just not how it's done. Try not to interrupt myself. We don't even want our readers that learn in our programs to use the word I in their coverages. It's not about you at all. I think this, I think that. We don't do it. It's about the story. We just always are diving into the story. We read every single page because we like to read. We read every single page, and then we write because we're writers. That really great coverage, and we really help because it's a job of service. So, and it all is because we love movies. So we are really like under that umbrella of supporting people. And then producers as well are, insanely busy, like crazy. They're doing every job from sweeping the floor to, ordering the catering truck to raising the money. They're just like, depending on the budget, but even, low budget producers are doing all this job. Even bigger budgets though, they're still like, they're just brokering so many different deals. They're trying to bring in new things while they're also overseeing that the money that has been raised, that is being spent correctly, is being processed correctly, is, people are getting paid on the set. They're like responsible for all of that. So they have a lot going on. And so often they don't have they know when a screenplay works, like they know when it's something they want to get involved in, but they don't have that nuance and that expertise necessarily of exactly what goes into a story. That's where you come in. So it's like sometimes people, and I've talked about this before, people say that readers aren't writers, or that, you have to have produced movies in order to be a reader. And it's because if someone's going to read my screenplay, they need to have won an Oscar or something. And it's like, well, no, those are filmmakers. That's a different thing. And so I liken it to sometimes like an Olympic coach. Some coaches are Olympians, but some aren't. John Wooden is an amazing coach, and I'm not even sure of his basketball history as a player. He's awfully short, so I don't know, but he was an amazing coach, and so many people have learned from him, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be win a ring. Say that 3 times fast. You don't have to win a ring in a championship game in order to be able to coach that sport. You don't have to have won a gold medal in order to coach an Olympic athlete, or you don't have to be a pop star in order to coach a vocalist. There's many, many vocal coaches that work with pop stars. They're not pop stars. So if they're going to coach you on this thing, that's what you're doing. You're picking that very specific, very, very tangible thing that you're working on, which is the story, making sure that that story works, making sure that it's put together well, like what's missing, why isn't it working, what can that writer do, how can you guide them, all of the things. When you see someone coaching someone else, you're doing that for this writer or this story. You're really like ushering that story forward, just like you're ushering that athlete forward. It's the same kind of principle. And I love it when writers understand this, or when readers come in with that perspective where they're really that job of service, that job of coaching, that job of pushing, that job of inspiring. I think when we come at it from that one, it's just more fun, and it's way more gratifying. And it's just like you come from a place of gratitude and fun, and all of that is way more interesting, which is a great lead into the next thing, which is curiosity. Readers are curious. They're staying curious. If you're watching this, I think that you're a curious type anyway, or you wouldn't be watching this. You wouldn't be sitting here watching this if you're not curious. This is like you're curious about, what is this reader thing? What's going on with this? So when you come at a screenplay with that same curiosity, like you're not just like, I'm going to judge this. You're just curious about like, how can I make this better? How can I help this writing? How can I, what are the things that I can do to make this work? So really, really being curious about the story, being curious about how can we make it better, being curious about what is influencing this writer as you're reading it. You're like, what are the influences? Because if it's not working, often it's because that writer is influenced by famous writers and they're just kind of trying to copy it. But if they're influenced by that writer, if they're trying to be Sorkin or they're trying to be Tarantino, you can kind of get a feel for, okay, this is what is inspiring and influencing them, but they still will have their own voice. And how can you help them pull that out? I believe that every single writer has their own voice. We all have a unique, lovely, wonderful, awful, beautiful, terrifying experience of this life. We've all been through beautiful, wonderful things. We've all been through terrifying, awful things. And so we all have a unique perspective to bring. Every single person has a unique perspective, and every single person has the universal experience of being human. Whether it doesn't matter what your background is, doesn't matter, all of that in one regard just goes to the wayside when it comes to being human. We all have this sense of wanting to belong, the sense of feeling unworthy. All of that is kind of underlying kind of all stories to some degree. And then what we do have that's different is our backgrounds, the things that we've been through. And the more that we can, as readers, usher in, more diverse stories and more unusual stories and more things that are happening in places we've never been. This is like the most exciting time for Hollywood, in that now things are becoming so global, and it's so great because it means that stories from so many places that we've never even heard of are coming out, and it's so much fun. And you find these stories that are so unusual, coming from such a place that we didn't know, and yet that thread of humanity is there. And it's just like, this gives me the chills just thinking about it, because it's so much fun. And that's our ability to stay curious and not come from a place of, I know what I know, and this is how it is, and this is how it should always be. but instead staying curious and staying fluid and being open, I think that we can really be that person that helps usher in new stories, that really helps. I mean, I really think we're the change makers of the world. I know it's like a big thing for like a job that people might not think about it in, but it really is that. Because if you are someone who believes in a certain thing and a certain even ideology, you can help usher those stories forward. And so I'm hoping that everyone that's doing that is coming from a positive place and wanting to usher stories forward that uplift us as a whole. I think we have sort of a responsibility and I have a passion for doing that, for bringing stories that just make us feel a little bit better when they're there. Even if it's a story that's sad or that is tragic or whatever, there's something about that communal experience that makes us feel better in a way. So, how can we be that usher, and how can we be that person that ushers those stories forward, and how can we be that element of change and wonder and all of that. And that said, there are foundational rules to storytelling and screenwriting and all of that. And that's what we do in our programs. We train those rules. But once you have those rules down of what's the inciting incident, the 3-act structure, all of that, then it just provides this foundation of play that you can just like have just total fun and chaos on top. So this is just really, 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 it's really fun to talk about, and these are kind of the main qualities, which might not seem like the ones that you may think. It may seem like they need to be analytical and they need to be critical. And to me, it's like that stuff you can learn. You can learn what the 3-act structure is. You can learn that on page this happens. You can learn that a screenplay is a minute per page. You can learn all of that. The qualities that you need in order to thrive in this job and to really like make it work is that you need to love movies, you need to love to read, you need to love to write, you need to love, come from a place of service and stay curious. Those are the things to me that really will make you a successful reader. I think those are kind of the things that make you successful in the industry in general, no matter what your role is. If you're writing, same thing, knowing, I think as a writer, you should also be reading voraciously. I think, just stories in general, having a really good sense of storytelling by doing all that, I think it just can be really, these are the things that fit together and these are the things that make it work. So we want to pop in and just talk about that. If you are interested in becoming a reader, you can join us for a free masterclass. We will be doing them live next week. Very exciting. We start this coming Saturday. So you can go to hollywoodgatekeepers.com/masterclass and you can register for those masterclasses. So you can do that, register for the masterclass, and then I will guide you through that and tell you all the little details about being a reader. And so you can kind of see, is this something that's meant for you or what? So we're super happy to have you here. Thank you for joining our programs, for checking it out. We're really, really, having a blast doing this. And it's been really, really fun. If you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We monitor that. We're really happy to have you here. I'm so excited. We're just having so much fun with this. And I hope you are too. So have a beautiful, lovely month. This was our training. We do a free training the first Monday of every single month. So make sure you turn in next Monday. That will be September. Oh my goodness. So make sure that you tune in next Monday as well. But we will be back. We'll also be on Clubhouse this week. So we'll post about that. Keep an eye out for that. Check your emails. We send out emails about all the fun new things. We have a lot of trainings in a lot of places. I'm actually going to leave this and I'm going to hop on over to Instagram in a few minutes. Not Instagram. See, I just came from Instagram and I'm going to hop on over to LinkedIn. So we like to just tell the world, shout it from the rooftops. These are the qualities of a reader so that writers can also feel that readers are coming from a place of love and acceptance and encouragement. And we just want to change the world and help you write that screenplay. So great to see you guys. Have a beautiful, lovely day, and we will talk to you soon.